Hi, I'm Neil Sackmary.
Hi, I'm State Trooper Sean Hagstrom with the Nevada State Police Highway Patrol Division, PEIO. Please stay tuned for the next episode of Trooper Talk.
And together, we can make a difference. Here we are live at the 360 Vegas studios with this edition of Trooper Talk. We do have a special guest in the middle that we're going to introduce after we introduce who's on the right and the left, which you know already. Please introduce yourself, sir.
Hi, I'm Sean Hagstrom. I'm a State Trooper with the Nevada Highway Patrol Public Affairs.
Who drives a Mustang?
Absolutely.
Right.
And we got another Mustang.
And you, sir, are who?
I'm Trooper Villanueva, Nevada State Police. I am the sworn recruiter for Southern Command or Region 1.
And you drive
A Mustang.
Right.
As well.
And you, sir, please introduce yourself.
I'm Paul Maloney, retired from full-time with the Omaha Police Department, and I'm currently a part-time officer working in the training section.
And so we're going to get to your book in a moment.
Okay.
Because I have something for you that I would like to give to you. And I would like to start off because one of the things that we do on Trooper Talk that's really cool is we like to put people on the spot. His wife and his mom both work for Nevada State Police. I don't know if you're aware of that.
I am now.
But it makes his face turn red because and we've had them both on the show. We surprised him about a month ago, and we had his mom sit right there.
Yep.
And it was fantastic. You know what I'm saying? One of the things that's very special about the Trooper Talk, and we've been filming now for just under 4 years, we just had our 200th episode, is we like to go inside the life of the Nevada State Police. We want people to know who people are. We also want people to know that when they do horrific things, that they really affect these troopers and they take it home.
Yeah.
So, let's start off with how long you've known this gentleman over here.
This is a great...
No, I don't want to hear from you. I want
okay, all right.
Yeah, I want to hear some stories. Tell me,
So,
how long have you
Sean
known?
and I met in 1984, freshman year in high school. They moved in the neighborhood just down the street from me, and we've been friends ever since.
And so, when people are in high school versus where they are today, you know, a lot of people change or they're not who they were back then. And one of the things that Trooper Hagstrom always said is that your friendship is always remained the same. And it's very special that he wanted you to, not only we're going to talk about your book, but he wanted you to come on because he wanted you to see what he does every week. And so here's what I'm going to share with you. I'm going to share a story, and then you're going to share a story. You ready? The PIO comes on to Trooper Talk, and we film every single week, okay? And one of the things that when Trooper Hagstrom came back as a critical fill, which we're going to get to, they said, okay, listen, you know, this is your duties that you have to do. And by the way, you have to go on this TV show and talk to Neil once a week. And so when he came on the first show, he came on with the Major, and at that time I had the sofa. He sat over there, the Major sat over there. He really sank in the sofa. But he was like this. You know what I'm saying? Like he was like, because he was trying to understand. And let me tell you that he's grown into absolutely tremendous. And he wakes up and he does the TV interviews and all that, and he's always here. And we, every single week, get somebody new from the Nevada State Police, a different division, because we want to showcase that there's different divisions so we can get more people that are awesome to the Nevada State Police. So that's my story.
Yeah.
All right, now you share a story.
Well, none of that surprises me, because ever since I met Sean, he's been a perfectionist, and it never surprised me that he went to law enforcement before I did, and just has tried to be the best as he could in his career. And it also doesn't surprise me that he's in the position he is in now, and because he's been very prideful about his career. So it's cool. You know, I show some of the videos he sends me to our, you know, communal friends back home in Omaha, you know, about some of the videos on when New Year's Eve is coming and the safety videos and things. And it's like they found the perfect guy for that job. You know, he's the caricature of a state patrol guy with his hat, and he's you know, the Marine. It's
Yeah.
that's Sean, and so it's easy for him because it's not a show.
Well, I appreciate that. I really do. And you know what? One
Yeah,
thing,
you
Neil,
know,
I got
what's
to
your
add.
story? Yeah, I
I do
wanna
got to
hear your
add
story
something
now.
here too.
Yeah.
Out of the 5 guys that we hung out with in high school, nonstop, 4 out of those 5, because Terry Kemp didn't get into law enforcement. But everybody that we hung out, we're athletes. We all played sports. We tried to stay out of a little bit of trouble, right? You know, being youngsters. But all of them are in law enforcement or criminal justice field. So it just kind of shows you the type of people you hang out and where their lives have gone. And now that we're older, everybody's starting to retire, because you retired, what, maybe a year ago, 2 years ago?
Yeah, 2.
2 years ago. His wife is a captain on the Omaha Police Department that just retired last year, right? She was 2 years behind you?
Lieutenant, but last year, yes.
Or lieutenant, I'm sorry. Yeah, so, yeah, amazing. So
Now you tell a story about both of you. That's a good story. You know what I'm saying?
well, hey, I'll tell you a great story.
I want to hear.
This, you know, he talks about me trying to be a perfectionist, but I'll tell you what, he's one of the strongest guys in high school, and not only that, he played for University of Nebraska in Omaha football, had a scholarship and all that, and I've always followed what he did along the way, you know, going since everybody left high school, and he's done a phenomenal job. After he got out of college and then got into the law enforcement career, it's just, you know, he got to do undercover, which is hard enough, you know, trying to, you know, get the drugs and buying and selling, you know, like guns or whatever. He can go over that a little bit later. But to get into SWAT, he was in SWAT for like 16 years or something, and he's one of the top-rate guys. Matter of fact, he's so good they didn't want him to leave, so now he's working part-time training, doing the range and assisting SWAT in Omaha. So we're just proud to have him on the show, and this is great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, little known fact about Sean.
Yes. Tell me. I want to know.
Former bodybuilder.
Yeah,
I didn't
I
know
was
that.
runner-up Mr.
Competitive
Teen
bu-
Nebraska.
Competitive bodybuilder.
Yeah. Back in the day. I don't look like it now,
Right,
but
I think you do. You know
Fun
what I'm
fact.
saying?
Yeah.
And I agree with you. You when he puts on the hat. Oh, sorry. The right. It's totally different. You know what I mean? Like when he puts on his hat, you can't tell because his hair is always perfect. See, his
It
hair,
is.
It's always like this. It's always
it's
perfect.
like hair 401. You know, you got to have that just perfect. You know?
just perfect. But when they put on that hat, it's totally different, and that's something that we talk about. And so that's why we need people that want to make sure that every single thread is perfect, right?
Right.
And we need people like that because it's so important. Talk to us about the recruiting.
Yeah, we're looking for Nevada's finest. We want people that want to come out and make a change, not only in themselves, but also with the community. We're not looking for anybody that has any prior experience. That's not what we're asking for. You don't have to have any experience whatsoever in law enforcement or military or anything like that. We will train you from ground to where you need to be to do your job efficiently and safely. So whoever's willing to do their community a favor, NevadaStatePolice.com.
Yeah. So it's very cool because one of the things that we talk about with the Nevada State Police is the family, right? And so everybody has their own families, but the Nevada State Police is not only part of that family, but it's an entirety, and they bring this family into that family to make it wonderful. And so, you know, it's a really wonderful thing. What I will tell you is that normally we just sit here and talk, but I want to talk about your book. So I don't know about the pictures because Trooper Hagstrom works with Johnny, but I just understand that the first picture has to do with your book. So we're going to do the first picture, and then we're going to talk about your book. You ready? Okay. What I would like to start with is this. The day before you started writing this book, where were you? What were you doing? And why did you go from that to writing a book?
So I had already retired, and I was working a part-time gig for the Berkshire Hathaway annual shareholders meeting in Omaha, which is a big deal, right? It's the largest collection of billionaires in the world at any one meeting, and it's just a big event in Omaha. You know, Warren Buffett, his entity, and I was hired as a personal security guy for the good people at Apple and Tim Cook. And I was sitting in a limousine waiting to drive for one of the dinners, And I've been telling myself for the past 2 years, I want to write a book. I want to write a book. I said, you know what? I'm doing it. I was sitting there just by myself with nothing to do, waiting for the dinner to finish. I said, it's it. I'm starting the book tomorrow, because the detail was going to end. And I did. I started literally a handwritten outline, and went from there. And it was, it's interesting in the law enforcement world. If you haven't said it yet, I know Sean has said it. Most law enforcement officers, cops have said it. Man, I should write a book. I should write a book, or we should write a book about the things we've seen. And I thought, you know what, dude, get off your butt and do it. So that's where the genesis of it came from.
And so you're sitting in the limousine. You decide that you want to write a book. You start writing an outline, which is probably very difficult. You know what I'm saying? Because you're getting all these thoughts in your mind and everything. Take us through that process, because a lot of people might be in your shoes and they don't understand what to do.
You know, it wasn't necessarily difficult. It was actually a little bit exhilarating. You know, cops, we write reports, and the reports are chronological. And so I wrote a chronological outline, and what made it easy was I simply, on my outline, hey, this is when I started the academy. And the outline ended the day that I retired. And in between, hey, 6 months in the academy, 6 months of FTO, and then 4 years of the Northeast Precinct. And so each one of those different time frames, I started putting in bullet points of, here's an event that happened, here's another, and it literally was single word bullet points. And I would be, you know, I'd be in the middle section, and I think, oh yeah, I forgot about this, and I'd go back and put another bullet point in my time in uniform patrol. And then I would think ahead to a case that happened 2 months ago in narcotics, and I'd put a bullet point. I just kind of bebopped around, and all of a sudden, next thing you know, this thing was filled up. And then I took those bullet points, and I got on my laptop, and I started writing. I typed out that outline, and I started writing one sentence for every bullet point. And again, I kind of bebopped around, and then it made me think of something else that I forgot in this particular time frame when I first got into narcotics, or my first undercover deal. And it just kind of started backfilling, and this outline became like 7 or 8 pages of, you know, one-liners. And I'm like, okay, I'm ready. So I transferred that into its own Word document, and then I just started basically taking sections out and typing and typing and typing and adding to each one of those particular stories. And even though even the outline was written chronologically, I didn't necessarily write it chronologically. I would get tired of writing about my narcotics section, and I'd go back and write in about the SWAT time frame, and then I would go back and write about the Uniform Patrol Bureau. So I bebopped around when I wrote it. You know, the time frame I bebopped around, and you know, it just kind of filled out. And next thing you know, I had 115,000 words in the document, which was way too much.
And so you wrote all this. No, there was no ghost writing.
No, I wrote all of it.
Right. And so you get to this point, and now you're done, and you're ready to send it to the publisher and all this type of stuff, right? What I want to know is, when you get this book back for the first time in your hand, like, do you jump up and down? Do you like, you know, do you
No.
go in private, like you're with your wife, right? But are you like, yeah, like I did it, or like, what is that feeling like?
Well, so let me add some too before that.
Yeah.
So I had no idea. You know, books, different genres of books have different unwritten rules. All right, a true crime memoir, which that classifies as, is generally 70,000 to maybe 85,000 words. That's it. That's just kind of the unwritten rule, and they're generally going to print it in a 6x9 sized book. A Stephen King novel is smaller and a lot thicker, right? That's just the genre of books have different rules, and I didn't know that ahead of time. So I wrote 115,000 words, and my editor gave me back 65,000 words. She's like, here we go, here's where we're gonna start. And I'm like, complete stories are just gone, and other stories are from here to here. And I'm like, she's like, we gotta get it to like 80,000 words-ish is our goal. So I was like, okay, well, I'm gonna put my foot down, and this story has to go back in there. Okay, that's fine. And so we built it up from 65,000 words, and we took it to 78,000 words, which is in that book. When I got back to 78,000 words, I was like, all right, I was happy with what we had left in there. But then the finite editing came in, and she did a fantastic job on taking my Neanderthal cop police writing style. And she didn't rewrite a lot of it necessarily. She changed her chronological story that was in there. You know, I learned so much in this process. Most TV shows now, you know, law enforcement or military stuff or true crime stuff, the initial scene is something crazy, right? And then it goes back and tells that story, and then then everything starts. And that's how the book starts. The first chapter of the book is crazy. And then it kind of backfills on how the career came, and then it just kind of bebops around to different things. You know, it's not really in chronological order. You know, and she was gracious enough to say, "Okay, you're a cop. That's how cops write. That's not what people want to read. I want to help you make this book better." And so I finally had to just give up the reins. Like, okay, I'm going to trust you that this is your job, and I think she did a fantastic job.
Yeah.
Sounds like a volume 2 coming out.
Right.
With
No,
all
no,
the
that's
extra
what I'm
stories
saying.
that got
So,
edited, you know?
And so where,
Yeah.
where do people buy the book?
Amazon is the easiest place.
Okay, so look at that camera right here.
Amazon.com.
Right. Tell people the name of the book and tell them how to find it, what the easiest way and all that stuff is.
Amazon, it's called Ram 1. You can just type in Ram 1 or Ram 1 book if your filter doesn't find it. But you'll see it. That cover is pretty specific, so it comes up right away. It's in Audible. It's in the e-form. You can find it in multiple different facets.
Can you tell them why you called it Ram 1? Because the lead thing that you did for SWAT?
Yeah, so, you know,
Yes.
I was blessed in my career. Even before SWAT, I started ramming. I got on the narcotics unit. I started ramming doors, and I was lucky enough.
You're so strong.
I was lucky enough that in my career, and I was in a good time frame, I served over 2,300 high-risk search warrants. And I rammed over 1,000 doors, but there was a time frame where they weren't having us document it. The sergeant would document it to keep us off the radar of breaking stuff. So I rammed thousands of doors. And on the SWAT team, my official position wasn't always Ram 1, but the primary breacher is titled Ram 1. The secondary breacher is Ram 2. You have Bunker 1, Bunker 2, Ram 1, Ram 2. But 9.5 times out of 10, I was Ram 1. And so jokingly, the guys just started calling me, "Hey, what's up, Ram 1?" Because that's the job that you do all the time. And that's where the title came, which is an interesting segue. When I first thought I was going to write a book, I wanted to call it something different. And I told the editor, "Hey, listen, here's my book, and here's what I want to call it." And she's like, "Yeah, we're not calling it that." I'm like, "Well, what do you mean? I'm the author." She's like, "Let's get through the process, and the title will find itself." And the title I was going to choose was way different, and this is a way better title.
Yeah, and a great picture.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Your friend, long time,
Absolutely. Lifetime.
huge, love, huge accomplishment. And so when you hear and when you see this, and you obviously talk to him on a daily or basis, so you know all this. How cool is that he's sitting next to you right here on the TV show?
I'm very proud of him, and very excited just to get him on the show. You know what I mean? To kind of tell a little bit about his story and what they do. Every law enforcement has different jobs, right? And we're primarily highway patrol and all this stuff, but it's kind of nice to have another a police officer from a major city to kind of explain what they do, and a lot of officers are pretty similar on everything they do across the nation. But it's kind of exciting, all the stuff that he's done in his career, to even write a book about it, going undercover, buying guns from cartels. And I mean, it's a fascinating book. If people get it, it just tells all kinds of stuff. And just being a SWAT member, that's amazing, because they're like the top 1%. Just to be a SWAT officer, you have to be in amazing shape. They constantly train for all different situations. You know what I mean? From hostage situations to breaking down doors, getting drugs off the road. Or not off the road, I'm so used to highway patrol, but drugs out of houses and major incidents, you know what I mean? So I'm very proud of him, and I'm excited that he actually came down here to visit me, and I'm like, hey, I got a show coming on this week. Do you want to come on and kind of talk about because you wrote a book?" And he says, "Yeah, let's bring it. Let's do it." So I was really excited that he wanted to do this to it.
And before I get to him, what are you guys doing? Like, so you know him out of uniform, which is kind of cool. Does that make sense? So do you have like hot dogs and burgers and all that type of stuff for the weekend? Or stuff
Well, we
like
just had burgers last night. We
Right.
went to one of the local places, born and raised up there on the Northwest. But yeah, we're gonna have some cookouts. We're gonna do a few restaurants that they haven't tried because they want to try something different that's more local. That we have. I might even take them to they like the diners, drive-ins or whatever with. So I think I'm gonna take them to like John Mull's, one of the old, to have the old butcher
Where they come
shop
up- where
and
they come up-
everything.
yeah.
The
I'd
triple
love
macaroni
see
and all
that,
that stuff.
yeah.
Oh yeah, it'd be awesome. But we got a few things planned for him, like going to Hoover Dam. Never seen it.
Right.
Some of the excitement stuff around it, and we got to take him on the Strip. He's never been on the Strip at night, but we're gonna take him like Bellagio to see the fountains and stuff like
Right.
that. So we're excited to have him out for the first time. His wife's never seen this either, so we just kind of want to show him what Vegas is about, and I was just really excited to get him here. I was surprised because sometimes a lot of officers and troopers alone. They kind of get nervous going in front of cameras, but he's kind of used to it.
I don't understand it. Like
Yeah,
they sit over
he's
there
used to
and
it.
I just ask questions. One of the
So-
one of the things that's very cool is that I look at people and then I just ask the questions that I think is very interesting. I don't think about it before. That's why when you came over to the store and we talked about your book, which I have a gift for you, then I said I don't want to hear it. Right, and you said I have a book, and you said I wanted to give you a book, and I said I don't want it right now, right? Because the first reaction is always the best, and one of the things that we love to show is all the officers in their best possible light. These two guys are friends, right? And so you see this, and you go, he's a trooper. Right? And so somebody's watching right now and they're going, that's what I want to be. Like, my buddies and I, we're hanging out, we're doing things, all that stuff. But we could be troopers in 40 years. We could be officers that are on the SWAT team, part of Ram 1. I mean, it's like all these things are fantastic.
Yeah.
And so when you want to be Nevada's finest, and you want to be in law enforcement, critical fill, right? Transfer from the military, right? All these things. Maybe a take-home Mustang, right? But like this is something that people work for,
Yep.
right? Like you didn't join Nevada State Police and go, well, one day I'm going to be driving the Mustang, and you come here every day, when we film, and you're always the one that tells us. About the thread can never be out of place, because if the thread is out of place, you forget your bullets. You know what I mean? And so these are things that are important, right?
Yeah, and something I want to touch on is when you do join any kind of police entity, you start building these bonds and these lifetime friendships with multiple people. I have friendships from outside of police work that I've held since high school. That are very near and dear to me. However, I feel like a closer connection to some of the guys at work, just because they know the dangers and they know the things that go on at work, and they see some of the crazy stuff that I see, and it just kind of brings us a little bit closer and a little bit tighter than the average friendship would outside of the law enforcement world. And not only with the state, but also with other local entities in town, you start growing and kind of connecting with different people just based off of experiences that you go through. So people need to understand that your friendships might change when you come on as a law enforcement officer. You might lose friends who don't necessarily agree with your choices of becoming an officer, but you're absolutely going to gain something much, much better than what you might have had prior.
Yeah, and it's very important. You know what I mean? Like, we try as hard as we can every single solitary day, and it is what that is.
Yeah.
So I know you wanted to give me your book, so I wanted to give you something in return.
Okay.
These are my vintage Nevada coin marred ounces. Okay. I have an official Trooper Talk patch for you as well. Okay.
Excellent.
But I want to give you this, and I want you to know that from the deepest bottom of my heart, okay, that I care for both of these gentlemen like you wouldn't believe. Okay? I couldn't be an officer because if I see danger, I'm running the opposite way. But I give these guys and all law enforcement the most respect and want to do everything we can for them because they're in very, very difficult positions every single solitary day, just as you know as well, right?
Absolutely.
So we have something on here. I don't know where it is, but it's called Sean's Safety Tips. And it's his safety tips that he started about 2 months ago. I don't know. It's one of these pictures.
He gets
So,
very excited about it.
Right, that he gets very excited about. And wait till you see his face. So I have this for you. And so I just want you to know that we'll get up when we're all done. But I appreciate you coming. Does that make sense?
Nope.
And then this is the official Trooper Talk patch. And so we will give you this as well. But
No.
thank you very much for coming.
Thank you.
Does that
And
make
let me,
sense?
real quick, I'll say something. So,
Yes, tell me.
because meeting you earlier, I already signed the book. Thank you for everything you do for law enforcement. It does not go unnoticed. I hope you enjoy the book. And, you know,
Yeah, you keep it right there. It's perfect, and everybody can see it right in front of you.
I lost a couple partners on the job, and the support from the community is such an amazing thing. And over the course of my career, I mean, Omaha's been a very supportive community to work for. And a lot of times you kind of just get sucked into, hey, the guys you work with. But so law enforcement across the board has such an affinity appreciation for non-law enforcement citizens who support us. And so we love you guys way more than sometimes we let on. So thank you for what you do, Neil. I
Well, thank
appreciate
you.
that.
And I will tell you that. So this is the start. So I buy the patches whenever we have a fallen officer for any of the agencies. I buy the patches through the IPOF, and then I give them to all the law enforcement officers. That way, nobody can ever say, "Well, you know, somebody messed with something or whatever." No. I bought them with my money. You know what I mean? And then I give them to the law enforcement officers. Sergeant Abate and Trooper Felix were troopers that lost their life due to someone that was doing impaired driving.
Yeah.
You didn't know them, but what I would like to talk about before we get to the next screen, when you lose a partner, what does this feel like?
Oh, I tell you, my first partner that was shot and killed, I mean, I had a hole in my heart for a long time, and I was depressed, and I literally was going to quit the department, and I had another job lined up, but some friends convinced me to stay, and I'm so glad that I did. But it's tough, you know, when you sit next to someone for 8 hours a day and you get into fights, you know, collectively with someone else and pursuits and all the stuff you do and all the non-violent, just silly stuff that goes on, and you work out together and you go on hunting and fishing trips together and you spend time with your families together, you know, it's an amazing thing. But yeah, it's tough, but to give up and not continue what you're doing, I think would kind of be a kind of a mark on their memory that you're giving up on that career. So, but it's difficult, that's for sure, you know. And this sounds weird, but I think I'm a better man for it, you know. I love those two guys, but I'm a better human being that I got to know them and that they're gone, you know. So I know it sounds weird to people probably, but it's changed my character a lot. So
At least you got to feel and to
Yeah.
know, right?
yeah,
Both of these two gentlemen are shaking their heads because we talk about this all the time. You know what I mean? And so, go ahead.
Yep. So, like I said the last time, I was on scene for both of those individuals on that scene, and yeah, he's absolutely correct. That night has forever molded me to where I am now, and it's changed me for the better. It's given me a better perspective on my career, my job, my life, and it's given me a better appreciation of what I go out and do on a daily basis for getting impaired drivers off the road or just making sure the public is safe out on the roadways. it's just an all-around appreciation for what they used to do as well. Trooper Felix was one of the hardest workers that we had on Graveyard. And after that incident, I would try to go out and kind of emulate what he was doing, and I could never replace what he did ever. But I always pushed myself a little bit more just because of what he used to do. And the following year, I had my training for EVOC, which is our emergency vehicle driving. And I wanted to push myself a little bit more. I'm always scared to hit the corner and go flying and tumbling, but I was like, I'm going to push a little bit more for Sergeant Abate, because I know that he takes his corner way faster than I do. So yeah, it just it pushes you a little bit more to be better and do better, just to kind of honor them.
Yeah.
Well,
You know, being the PIO, you know, you deal with people that are not on the planet anymore, that are regular citizens, and then you have to deal with things like this. And they wake you up at 3 o'clock in the morning, and they say, you know, the news media is going to be here in 20 minutes, and you need to, you know, get over here. And so when it comes to that, you know, you see death. We, on the general public, generally don't see death until it's a family member or something of this nature.
Mm-hmm.
People drive impaired. People do all these type of things. And so people have to know that when they travel on the roadways, that, you know, it's very bad, and you cannot be impaired. It's July 4th weekend. You know what I mean? Like all these type of things, that these two gentlemen are not here anymore, right? Because of that. He lost two friends because of someone else, and had, and probably still does, the big hole in the heart. It's just he's sort of learned to live with that. You know what I mean? To try to become a better person and say, well, at least we had this connection. You know what I mean? Like, at least we had that.
yeah, and it never goes away, Neil. You know, and our hearts go out to all those who put their lives on the line every day across this valley. You know, most people out there, citizens, will have 3 or 4 traumatic incidents in their lifetime, right? Where officers will have 600 to 700 traumatic incidents that they go through. And it never gets easy going to fatal calls, and especially when you have kids involved, everything else. They haven't even started their lives yet, you know, and when they're gone, that's a person that's not going to be there for Christmas or Thanksgiving, you know, and it doesn't just affect that family. It affects their friends, their cousins. We've talked about, you know, just one family, it could affect up to 1,000 people, and people just don't realize that. This is one of the reasons that we try to hit it so hard that the 2 major contributing factors here in Nevada for fatals is speed and impairment. And we still have this issue in the valley. And like we always say, Neil, there is no excuse to be out there driving impaired on these roadways. I mean, you got Ubers, Lyfts, taxis, buses. You know, you could have a designated driver. And us at the Nevada Highway Patrol, we're not saying don't have a good time out there. I mean, we live in the entertainment capital of the world, and we want people to come out here and enjoy themselves and have fun. But if you're partaking in drugs or alcohol, what we're asking people is just don't get behind the wheel of the car. Now you're putting yourself in danger, other people's lives are in danger, and we're just sick of seeing that. You know, every time I just did 2 reports this week on fatal crashes. And the last one I put, it really puts a lump in your throat, was we had a wrong way driver that was a juvenile that was impaired, struck the other car, you know, at the right front with the other right front. So ends up killing a 10 or 11-year-old child in front of the father. You know what I mean? The father has to go through this. You know, he wasn't injured where he had to go to the hospital, but he's there with his son the entire time. And, you know, I see the photos. You know, if I'm not at those scenes, I have to write it up. I look at the reports and just putting their name down, you know what I mean? And finding out the ages and all this stuff. It's tough. You know, and it's especially tough when the officers have to go to that person's household and tell the other parent or the parents, if they're not around, that they just lost their son and daughter because somebody was selfless and they decide to get behind the wheel of a car being impaired. And that's one of the reasons, and we're talking everything, you know, we're talking prescription drug use, you know what I mean? Marijuana, you know, that's a big thing now. You know, we're having a lot of the, you're still impaired. You know, you feel buzzed, don't get behind that wheel.
Right.
So these are the things that we really want to hit home for 4th of July. We want you to have fun. You know, it's our independence for what greatest nation in the world.
Right.
You know what I mean? And we want people to celebrate and have fun, but do it responsibly. And that's all we ask.
Yeah, 100%.
Neil, can I pigtail on that, Neil?
Yeah, sure.
So when I've done speaking engagements and talked to student groups or whatever it may be, I'm a pretty honest guy, and I'll answer whatever I could answer at the time that wasn't like case sensitive or, you know, something secret. But a lot of times the questions asked, well, why was the cop that pulled me over such a jerk? Okay, fair enough. What people don't think about is maybe yesterday that cop was on that fatal scene of that child, and he has a child the same age, and or maybe it's the same day because that fatal happened in the first part of his shift. He gets his reports done in 4 or 5 hours, has to go back out, and now is on the road again.
Yeah.
Or in the city law enforcement aspect of it, you get a call of a suicide, and somebody decided to put a 12 gauge in their mouth and pull the trigger, and you got to go in there and do that report. And you need to maybe dig the wallet out of the guy's pocket because nobody's home, and you got to find out who he is and do your reports. Get your reports done, and now you get a radio call of some kid that's out of control, whatever the radio call is, and you might wonder why that cop was not nice. Well, you just had to deal with what was all over the ceiling in that home type of thing, and people don't give them credit for what they might have just seen or done. And that's done in every city, every county, every highway across this country, every hour of every day of every year. And those are the men and women that have to deal with that, have to then somehow try to put on a smiley face and go deal with society, whether that's a criminal act or someone just got into a PD accident and hey, the cop was really a jerk. Well, you don't know what they just went through. So I always try to remind people of that it can be a pretty rough job.
Yeah, and you know, you bring it up, and this is something that we talk about, the officer wellness. You know what I mean, and the peer-to-peer and all that type of stuff that you know, these guys can talk to and things of this nature. Because, yeah, I agree with you, and in fact, like, I think we talked about the fact of when Sergeant Abate and Trooper Felix had this horrific thing. He was there, and then after it's over, it's like, oh, by the way, you know, back in service.
Yeah.
That's their friend that
Yeah.
they're now dealing with the scene. That's
Yeah.
insane.
Right.
Yeah, it's
100%.
mind-boggling. But yeah, peer support was one of the biggest things in our counselors, I guess, at the office. They did a tremendous job of helping us out and kind of getting us back to where we can go back out and put those smiley faces on and go out and deal with society again. Because yeah, it's unfortunate, but that's what it is expected of us, right? Hey, we don't care that you just dealt with 10 fatals this month, or you saw all 10 of those fatals, or you just lost 2 partners. You have to go back out on the road because we need people to cover the road.
Right,
So
and
yeah.
that's what's important.
Yep.
Nevada State Police.
Nevada State Police.
We got to get more troopers. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
But this is what we
100%.
need.
Sign up, people.
All right. So, voteNSP.com. You like that, right?
Absolutely.
Right. Because this, they give you this Survey Monkey, this,
Yeah.
that, and the, you know what I mean? It's like,
Yeah.
oh, by the way, can you vote for me? Yeah. Just write down this huge long thing, and it says 3Z425, and you're like, was that a 5 or
Just
a 2
send me the
or a
link.
6?
Yeah.
So we made voteNSP.com, and so it's very simple. You go there, you go to the bottom of the page, you go to Nevada, you do their little CAPTCHA thing, put in a fruit or whatever it might be. Does that make sense? And you vote.
You vote.
Takes 1 second.
Yeah, absolutely.
And let's tell the public a little bit about what this is. This is the American Association of State Troopers. Every year they have a 12, the regular calendar, 2025 coming out. So we're in it every year, and we're competing against 49 other state agencies. And I wanted to put this up here, Neil, because it does look kind of fake, and it looks like somebody, put the picture in, but we kind of talked about it like the last trooper talk a little bit, that this is called light painting. So we waited, and this is at Hoover Dam and the Pat Tillman Bridge, the new Pat Tillman Bridge. And this is actually a helo pad that you can see. So what we did is wait for the night light to get perfect. You know, and they were taking pictures all different until it got completely dark. And then you could see it in the background. The dam is amazing with the lights. But it's called light painting. And the photographer would take a bright light, and it's completely dark out, and he would hit his phone and it would take certain pictures of the car and it would just highlight. He put it all together, you know what I mean? All the different. So I wanted to put the actual pictures before we started to show that this is not fake. This is all real. Now we did superimpose the bighorn sheep because we couldn't get them to come visit us that day. And not only is it our state animal, the bighorn, but also the bighorn are all over Hoover Dam and Boulder City area. If you ever go to Boulder City, we got big rams everywhere. So we thought, what a great thing to put them in with our shop because it represents Nevada. You know what I mean? And the great battle-born state that we have. So, but you can go down and see the other cruisers that are involved. But please vote for your own Nevada. We want to win this. We're trying to get the front cover page. You know, we've always been in the calendar. We always make the calendar. Last couple of years, we've gotten third place. We're always getting close. And for Nevada, we don't have a big population. We're like under 3 million or right around 3 million. And we're beating all these other states like California, New York. So we got a lot of positive, but we're kind of down right now. This year, I don't know what's going on. I don't know if they didn't like the car or what, but we really got to get people to vote. And please go to votensp.com and vote for our state car here.
He wanted to show off his car.
Yeah, that's a great car.
Last
car.
week he said he showed me these photos and he said, I just wanted to show you, because he showed me on his phone. He goes, I just want to show you these were not fake photos.
Yeah.
Right? Like it wasn't like they took this and then they decided to put this over there, and you know what I mean? We like to have fun. We like to do things that are very exciting. Not right now, but in October, doing the haunted thing.
Oh yeah,
Right?
Yeah,
you know
absolutely.
what I mean? Where all the kids come and all that type of
The
stuff.
trunk or treat for
And
Halloween.
trunk or treat, right? And Nevada State Police, I love it because they're always doing these wonderful things that other people and other agencies don't do. And they're always trying to put a positive message out there because not a lot of people are able to talk to these guys or the women that work for Nevada State Police in a sort of non-uniform way. They can't hang out with him and have, a cheeseburger and be like, yeah, tell me what's going on with, the back home. And, oh my goodness, they built a new thing. You know what I mean? Like, we don't hear that, right? Yep. And so it's one of the things that we love about the Nevada State Police, that you, being a former law enforcement officer and now in the training, because you were so good at what you did. I mean, again, if you move out to Las Vegas, you just see him, and you know what I mean. We can figure.
I've already tried to work on that, but
we
he's not probably coming out.
But
Yeah.
That's the reality, right? Like that's why they're looking for people like yourself that, tremendous career. And that's the positivity that someone like yourself provides. So talk to us a little bit more about your book.
Yeah, so it's, Neil, it's just a super raw, overly honest look at my career. And it's a way smaller percentage of people that ever work direct undercover for their entity. And it's an almost non-existent number of people who do both. And I was lucky enough to do both. I worked undercover for 14 years, simultaneously was on a SWAT team for 16. So I'm not a super cop. I'm not better than anybody else by any means. I just had a different run through my police career than most guys get to see, and so I'm gonna put it down on paper, and I make fun of myself in the book for things that I screwed up, so I don't try to just blow myself up that, hey, I was this awesome guy who did this. No, I tell the truth, and I don't take credit for anybody else's cases where they became Officer of the Year, but I talk about some of them that I assisted with. I give props to the great men and women that I got to work with. One of my greatest partners ever was a female, Edie, and I learned so much from her in the narcotics world. But it talks about losing partners and selling machine guns to cartel members and buying dope and all sorts of different aspects of the job that I got to do. And I just feel blessed that I got to do those two different things, you know. And for the cops out there, I feel that I was a better undercover because I spent so much time on SWAT. It made me tactically sound while still trying to look like I'm not a cop. And working undercover, I think it made me a better SWAT guy because I was able to, hey, listen, this situation is getting pretty tense. Let's kind of bring it down a little bit and think outside the box on how we're going to solve this problem and not be so amped up. So there was guys on the SWAT team I work with that there's no way they could ever work undercover. And there's some undercovers that I work with, there's no way they could ever work in SWAT. Somehow I found the ability to get to do both, and I absolutely loved my job. Loved it to the end.
And where do they buy the book, right?
Amazon.com.
And
Ram
what
One.
do they search for again?
Ram One.
Right, or Ram One book, right?
Ram One book, yep.
Right, all right. You know, we're trying.
Yep.
Right? We're trying to get him to move out here, but it's probably not. You know what I'm saying? But maybe this video is going to get to someone in another state or someone in this state that is retiring, moving to a different career, you know what I mean, that wants to move to Las Vegas and, you know, always thought of being a law enforcement officer, right?
Yep.
This happens.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But we also want people that are young, that are starting out, because if you start when you're 18, you know, you can have a tremendous career and be retired by the time you're 50. I mean, like, you know, like you have to work hard, but, you know, there are tremendous possibilities, and you're working for the state.
Right. Yeah, we're not only looking for people that are just barely getting started with us. We're also looking for laterals. Anybody that's looking to leave their agency to come to us, even from out of state. If your state certification for your, we call it post here in Nevada, if that transfers over to Nevada, we'll take that and we'll apply it to ours, and you're a lateral officer essentially. You just do the advanced academy. We're also looking for critical fills, so if you are a retired law enforcement officer, not just in Nevada but out of state as well, we will bring you on for a critical fill position. You can work the road if you'd like. There's specialty positions like Trooper Hagstrom has over here as a PIO, or you can work in the office with the training division, kind of like this gentleman here. We have tons of different positions for you if you're looking to come back from retirement as a critical fill. We also have the Skill Bridge program, which we mentioned earlier. If your contract is ending with the military, we'll bring you on for about 6 months out of the last part of that contract, and the military will pay the contract. However, you're interning with us and you're kind of gaining the knowledge of what you need for the academy if you choose to join for us.
Hey, could I piggyback off that a little
Yes,
bit too?
of course.
Let me explain too. If you come to Nevada State Police, the Highway Patrol Division, and even parole and probation, you'll get your own assigned car.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you how big that is. That's your own office. You can set it up the way you want it once you get that car. But you hit on duty in your driveway, and when you get done for the day, you hit off from duty. Paul can attest, being in a big metropolitan agency, and I worked for one in Omaha too with the sheriff's office when I was out there, that you always try to get there early. You had to drive to work in your own personal vehicle. You had to grab all your stuff and wait for to see who's coming in, because you always try to get the better car, you know, that was coming in, because you got some of them run 24/7. You know what I mean? So you want to see what's the better car to get, and you'll unload all your stuff, put it in there, and then check out all your extra equipment that you got to put in the car. You know, shotgun and the Stinger, you know, the spikes and all that stuff. You got to put all that. But this is saving you gas. It's also saving you the time driving to and from work. You're not using your personal vehicle. And just having your own office, nobody else uses your car. That car is yours. You know what I mean? So that's one of the benefits. But also with the state, they supply all the uniforms, including your firearm and everything. Most other agencies, you have to buy your own firearm and your belts and equipment. And like Louis talked about before, sometimes it'll cost you $25,000 to $3,000. What if you end up saying that's not the career for me, or or something happens at Academy where you decide that you either get released or decide you're out $3,000, where this is all supplied for you. And then you get uniform allowances. Is it every 6 months or is it or several times?
Dependent, yeah. So uniform is every 6 months, and then boot allowance is every 2 years.
Yeah. So the state takes care of all that, and they buy top of the line equipment.
Yeah.
You know, for firearms down to everything that we have, they want to make sure that we do have the best equipment. So I want to hit the rules too, because if you live in a rural area in Nevada and you want to stay in that area, if we have an opening, we're going to try very hard to get you to live in your area and work out of that area. So that's some of the benefits. I just wanted to highlight some of those extra things
Where
that
do
we
they
have
go?
at the Highway Patrol. You know, you go to NevadaStatePolice.com. And also, if you always wanted to be, you didn't want to be a cop, but always wanted to work for a police agency, we have a ton of administrative different jobs throughout all of our divisions. And when you go to NevadaPolice.com, you can look at what's available. And our agency is a little bit different than a lot of other agencies because we will set you up on a ride-along, or like even with dispatch, we'll have you sit with the dispatcher throughout the day and see what they do, so you can kind of get a feel, hey, is this a job for me or not? You know, some agencies won't allow you to do that, but we'll actually take you out there and show you what it's all about. So we're kind of excited. We're a smaller agency, you know, statewide. Everybody knows everybody, and it's like family. And we've talked about that numerous times. You know, there is the leadership where most agencies, hey, you got to talk to your sergeant, you got to talk to your lieutenant first, and we still use the chain of command. But if you walk up to a captain or lieutenant, or you got a question, even our major, because we love our major,
Love the major.
he will. They'll stop and they'll talk to you and they'll give you advice. You know what I mean? You don't have to use that chain of command because we're such a small family, and that's what we love about being a state trooper. Not only here in the Las Vegas area, but statewide.
Yeah, we love all the high-ranking officers. They're the most fantastic. All right, let's see what. Ready for the next picture? Oh, a new colonel.
You colonel.
Yep, it just happened this week, right?
Yeah.
This is last week, Mike Edgel, and he's out from northern Nevada.
Yep.
I think he was a trooper for 22 years, but he was also, I think, the chief of Capitol Police. I don't know his whole background,
believe
but
so, yeah.
yeah. So he's been in law enforcement, I think, almost 30 years,
And
25 plus.
He'll be down here,
He'll come down here, but he's probably going to stay up in
Up there.
headquarters up in Carson City.
and then he'll just come down here like the old colonel. just
Annual visits or whatever.
And the-
Not
and-
annual, but every so often he'll be
and,
down
do
there.
the, and they're looking for a new lieutenant colonel or no?
We don't know about that yet,
Yeah, all right.
but you know our
But at
lieutenant
least-
colonel is still position is still open, but we don't know if they're going to fill that or not. So
All right. Well, congratulations.
Yeah.
absolutely,
But you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
We have to send an invitation. You know what I'm saying, to get him on here or
Oh,
something
absolutely.
like
Yeah,
that.
well
we'll talk
deserved.
to him about
But
it.
but
Well
we
deserved
would
for
love
him.
that. You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? And so that's fantastic. All right, let's see this. All right,
Oh,
this
Here
is
we go.
it.
Here we go.
You ready? All right, we're not allowed to talk. We have to we have to sort of subside. Sir, this is called Sean's Safety Tips.
yeah. No, one of the things I wanted to bring this up, you know, we've had this months ago, but some of the stuff that we have to relive, right? And the reason I put this up, you know, we have the move over law here in this state, and me and you have talked about it in the past about, you know, I used to belong to the California Highway Patrol Association for the longest time. I even thought about being a chippy or whatever, you know, back in the days, even when I was a deputy sheriff. So I used to get a magazine every month, and they'd have an officer in front of it. And I'd say almost 90% of those officers for CHP were struck by a driver on the side of the roadway. And just like Sergeant Abate and Felix, we had an impaired driver, but people not impaired, distracted drivers out there, they end up taking out tow truck drivers, troopers, people working on the side of the road, people changing tires. So what we want to do with this move over law, if you see emergency lights, if you have an open lane, go ahead and start moving over the farthest lane as possible. But it doesn't have to always be emergency lights. If you see those yellow lights for a tow truck, let's say somebody's got a hazards on up ahead, they're out changing the tire against the roadway, you got cars zipping by you 75, 80 miles an hour. One slip, can be very dangerous. Or you look over the next side of the road and end up clipping somebody and kill them. You know what I mean? So I just want people to be more constant about what's up ahead, and always look for those lights and pay attention. You know what I mean? So that's one of the big things in a move over law, and you can get a ticket. You know, it's a $250 fine, and also with the court incentives and everything else, it's closer to $300. And it's something you really don't need to get, you know, especially when there's lanes. When I worked north of Vegas for the longest time on the 15, always busy, and I'd be on a traffic stop walking out, and a car would zoom right past me. You could just feel it almost take you out right next to you. And you had open lanes all the way, no other cars, and you can't get in that far lane, you know, to protect somebody doing their job on the road. So I just wanted to remind people, if you see this, we have the move over law. Slow down if you're unable to get down. Slow down, so if you have to make a stop or something happens where somebody accidentally walks out in front of you or something. We just want people to start paying attention and moving over for emergency vehicles and other vehicles with people working on that interstate.
So I watch a show that that goes into law enforcement every single Friday and Saturday night, and so this last, I try to watch it as much as I can, but they're on Thanksgiving weekend, so I'm about 6 months behind or so. But here's the thing: the person was pulled over in the middle lane. They had travel lanes like this, two on each side. It looked like, and then they had a center median. And the person pulled in the middle lane, okay? They had an officer over here, and then they had the lieutenant over here, and they were just talking. And this person buzzed past them, like flying past them. And this guy got on the radio and goes, you know, pull this person over. Well, it just so happened that there was another police cruiser that was behind them that was coming to sort of assist them if they needed help. So this police officer cruises down the road and pulls this person over, and then they stop. They're done with their stop, and then they drive down to that person. Just sort of getting back to what you said, and this officer was calm. You know what I mean? He wasn't like, I would have been there and been a lunatic. You know what I'm saying? But he was calm. But he was like, you just almost killed me.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I could feel your rear view mirror touching my skin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right? And so we don't need to lose any more officers. We don't need to lose any more tow truck drivers or people that are just out there. All people need to do is pay attention. Yeah. And so in your line of work, where you did a lot of other things other than the patrolling, does that make sense?
Yes.
It's still part of the policing business. And so when these guys go out there and they pull these people over, and these people don't care, and whether they're impaired or not, they see the blinking light and they think that means, everybody's pulling over, that they need to speed faster so they can pull in front of everybody. We can't have that, right?
No, and I tell you this, Neil, when they were talking about it, when I was a young cop still driving a cruiser, I didn't want to pull over anybody in the interstate. If we're getting ready to pull a car and get on the interstate, it's like, well, I guess you're going to get to go free, because it is that dangerous. And I learned early, like, no, I don't need that headache. I can pull over somewhere else. They don't have a choice, right? And it is extremely dangerous. And it's Nevada, again, it's no different than Nebraska or Idaho or anywhere else. Vehicles on the side of the road get hit all the time. When people are driving and looking at it, their wheel turns into the direction they're looking, and that's why they clip stuff. Whether they're impaired or not, and it's an extremely dangerous gig to pull people over on a highway. And this is a guy who didn't want to do that, so
Right.
he did other stuff.
Yeah, I've had Metro officers stop out with me, and they said, "You all good? I'm getting out of here because it's just too." Up on the 95 at the Spaghetti Bowl, I'd be out there, and the cars are winging by, and you know how that bridge, it kind of shakes.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I
Kinda
don't know,
wobbles,
yeah,
yeah.
because you can feel it in your car, but when
Yeah.
you're out there
Oh, it's
on
on the bridge,
your
but
your
yeah.
feet and you're bouncing out there,
Yeah.
they're like, you good? I'm like, oh yeah, we're code 4. And they're like, good, I couldn't do your job. I'm out of here. You know what I mean? Because these cars are
100%.
past you at 75 miles an hour, and you're right there, and then the bridge is shaking, and they're like, oh, we're not having a part of this. But it's something that you learn, and it's a job that we have to do, and we can't dictate sometimes. We always want somebody to pull over where we want them to pull over, but it doesn't always happen that way. So sometimes it's even more dangerous area. But I do want the public to know that if somebody gets behind you, another officer, and they put the red and blue lights on or siren, always try to pull over all the way to the far right, because that's where the shoulders are. You know, I know some places in the 215, we do have these big wide shoulders on the left, and I've pulled people over there, and that's fine. But the majority of stops, if you're getting stopped, always signal your car and then get all the way to the far right. And then we can work on that far right shoulder. It's safe for you, safe for the officer, and everybody else around us.
You know, it's interesting because when you watch the show, and the officer's behind somebody that he's going to be pulling over, right? Like he's like, you know, we're gonna get you. You know, we're doing. The thing that they say the most is actually this exact thing. We know where to pull you over. So we might be behind you and we're going to pull you over, but that doesn't mean pull over immediately. Yeah. We will flip on the lights when it is that we know that it's not around a curve or that it's a straightaway or that it's a safe area that we can sort of designate to go over. And so that's why when it comes to Nevada State Police, you know, you have to be Nevada's finest. I mean, like, you are going to go out on a highway and look in someone's window and say, hi, I'm so-and-so. What are you doing right now? And you don't know if that person has a gun, if they're wasted, you know, if they just got in a fist fight with somebody and they just got in their car and they're just ready to drive. You know, you don't know until you have that conversation. And so one of the things that we've talked about is the fact of that you're very calm. You go up, but if you need to raise to a different level because that's what is needed in a certain situation, that's something that you're trained for. But you always try to degress the situation, and so this is something that's very important, and people need to know that. When you get pulled over by a trooper, you put your hands on the steering wheel, you sit there. And when they come up, they're going to tell you exactly what to do.
Right.
And if you haven't done anything wrong, and you were speeding, or you did something wrong in that way, like you did it, and that's the end of it, right?
Yeah, and I mean, I try to be as just kind of relaxed as possible when I come up, just because. For the majority of it, a lot of people haven't gotten pulled over before. Maybe it's their first time and they don't know what they're doing, so they're freaking out. So I just try to be as relaxed as possible. But yeah, absolutely, if the situation calls for it and I have to escalate, I will escalate until the point to where I feel like I have control, and then I will start de-escalating the situation. There's no real reason to start at a higher level. There's no reason to come up to the car, oh, what the heck do you think you're doing? Like, why are you flying down the road? There's no reason to start that, right? Because then that's going to get them worked up, and now we're in a whole completely different situation. So I try to remain as calm as possible, and then if that person is up at that level, I will meet that level, but then I'll try to start working it back down, because there's absolutely no reason to get into a fight on the side of the road when people are already not moving over for us. But yeah, if anybody's willing to come to want to work for us, we will teach you how to do traffic stops on the highway as safely as possible. Sean's absolutely correct. We try to pre-plan our stops as much as we can. Sometimes it just doesn't work out that way, but we have the ability to kind of like make the situation a little bit safer. We'll go up, we'll do our introduction, grab what we need, and say, hey, we're going to get off the highway here just because it's not safe here. We have different techniques that kind of puts us at a better advantage too. But we will train you from the very beginning how to make a traffic stop, how to de-escalate situations, how to escalate situations if needed. So that's where we're not asking for any kind of experience at all or anything like that. We'll train you from the very beginning.
Yeah. Sean Safe's tips, pretty cool. Right? He does these himself.
That's very cool.
Listen, has he taken you to the station?
Not yet.
So he took Johnny and I to the station. And we get to walk around, because one of the greatest things that we love is we get to see the promotion ceremonies and all that type of stuff. So we get invited because we're able to film all that. And so we got to go there and we got to walk around, and you know what I mean, like, and so like, you know, they have people that come over to him and give him little candies during the day, and you know what I mean, like things like this. But his desk is
You're telling the secret, so
Yeah.
my wife's gonna hear about those candies.
but only a few.
Yeah.
He has piles of papers and folders and you know, and like he showed me the computer, and it's like, you know, it's behind all these papers. And so the Sean safety tips is very important. You know
That's
what I mean?
cool.
Do you know what that means?
I do not.
Okay, that means it's over.
Oh, all right.
What do you think of that? All right. Here's what I want to say before we wrap up. It means so much to him that you came here. We've never met before, but it means so much that you come here and not only spend time with him and his wife and your wife and all that type of stuff, for the mental release that he can just, you know, hang out with a friend and all this type of stuff. But the thing is that we love to have different law enforcement mentalities so that people can understand, you know what I mean? And someone like yourself, who has done what you've done, it's pretty cool to be able to read and be able to understand what it is that you've gone through. And so it means so much. So before we end, tell everybody here where to get your book and all that type of stuff again.
All right, again, Amazon.com is the easiest place. Ram 1 or Ram 1 book in your search. And I truly believe you enjoy the read.
And we appreciate it very much. Your friend.
Yep.
All right,
for life.
what do you want to
Next
say
one.
to your friend before we leave?
No, I you know what? I couldn't be more happier just to have him here, to kind of experience Vegas, but also to come on the show with me. This is awesome. I mean, I'm beyond words. I'm kind of nervous because I never, you know, I'm not that. It's a different kind of nervous because
I know,
you're
I can
like,
feel it.
man, he's kind of like a book promotion thing. But on the other hand, he's a good friend of mine. I don't want to screw this up, you know. And say, look at what Sean. You look crazy, but no, I am so happy that he's out here to experience Vegas, and he's a friend for life. And just growing up and all the things that we got to do, and our friendship means a lot to me, and even our friends that we hung out with, I miss them all, because when you get in your later 50s and you're done with your work, you know, I've contacted a lot of our friends and saying, hey, we need to start spending time together, because we're on the last third of our life, and I want to kind of enjoy some stuff before I'm gone. You know what I mean? And this is the time to do it. You know, maybe I'll talk him and his wife go on a cruise or something down the road or something that we can just really do a vacation. You know what I mean?
Right.
But yeah, I couldn't speak highly enough for him, and I'm so proud of what he's done with his life and with his family as a whole. And I just wish the best for him always.
Thanks
you know
for
what I
having
mean?
me on. I appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Neil.
Yeah,
You're welcome.
Yeah.
So I always embarrass you, but we got him to be
Yeah.
embarrassed, right?
Yeah,
Look at
he's
his
turning
face.
red, he's turning
We
red.
finally
Yeah.
got him. You know what I'm saying? Woohoo!
Yeah.
This is wonderful, though.
Absolutely.
Like this is why people watch Trooper Talk, and people love it, and people love watching, because it's like, that's the coolness.
Yeah.
You know, he could go from this right now on the road, and he has to deal with something that it's a bad thing. You know what I mean? A driver or this, but at least like he's had some of the positivity, right? He's had the feeling of goodness that he can be like, okay, like this happened, but like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Yeah. And so, you know, what are you doing? This weekend?
Just hanging out by the pool.
Do you
having
eat
a
hot
couple
dogs and stuff like
hamburgers, hot dogs, brats, the cheddar brats. Oh, those are my
Okay.
Oh, I
favorite.
love those.
The
They're my
jalapeno
favorite.
cheddar brats. Those are the ones.
that? Okay. I was watching the news this morning, so the big question was, do you put mustard or ketchup on the hot dog?
Both.
Both. What about you?
Mustard.
Both.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't like the smell of mustard.
I like a little bit of sauerkraut and maybe some
Oh,
onions and
really?
pepper. Oh, yeah.
But I do like the cheddar cheese brats.
brats. Yeah. See.
Man, taking a bite of those, and I'm like,
look at
oh,
him,
yeah.
he's like, yep.
Yeah,
What
those are-
are we eating?
Yeah,
you know
that's
what I'm
right.
saying? Yeah.
Yeah.
He's like, is this
Lunchtime.
show over yet?
Nothing like putting those on the grill and just watching them get fat,
Yeah.
and you got the
The
cheese
cheese,
just
yeah.
rolling out. I love that.
Yeah.
That's and we're excited for the celebration. But I do want to tell before we go, before this holiday, everybody out there, please don't drive impaired.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Be safe.
This is not a weekend to do it, nor any day here in the valley. We all know what's right and wrong, right? And we're here to save lives and do the best for our community. And we're asking you to do that this weekend too. You know, just get a designated driver, have fun with your families, and if you choose to use drink or use drugs or whatever, keep it at home or the hotel that you're at. Just don't get behind the wheel. And that's all we ask. And we want everybody to have a wonderful and safe 4th of July.
And don't do the illegal drugs because you never know. There could be an undercover guy that's there. That's like, listen, you know what I mean?
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha. You know what I mean? All right, let's turn right here, and we're gonna wave goodbye. Okay. Hold your book. Yeah. There you go. There you go. All right. Look right there, and wave and say Amazon.com. You can buy it. You know what I'm saying?
There you go.